Welcome to the first episode in the NEXTGames Mythic Weapons series. Now, Mythic weapons can take quite a bit more work than other Rima weapons. Unlike the others that can normally be obtained with a single event, Mythics require you to do work in many different events in the At-Urhan expansion, and this series will cover all of what needs done to acquire those difficult to get Mythic weapons. Now today we'll be covering the Nyzul Isle investigation event. The first thing you'll want to do is climb to floor 100 in this event, and while doing so, you will want to try and pick up the Vigil weapon that goes along with the Mythic weapon that you have chosen to upgrade along the way. Now since I'm going for a Nagi, that means I need to be on the lookout for a Sasuke Katana. Now weapons can often drop off of any notorious monster that you find on any floor, so be sure to kill them regardless of what the objective is until you found the weapon you need. Now I will be assuming that you will be soloing all of this content, but if you go with more players, it will definitely speed things up. Now I normally manage to get 12 to 20 floors done per 30-minute run, but when you're first starting out, you should aim to try and get 10 floors done per run. Now if you manage to get all the way to the 100th floor and you haven't gotten your weapon yet, just keep doing runs and killing notorious monsters until you get it. You will need 150,000 Nyzul tokens later in this process to upgrade your Mythic, so farming points now will just save you time later. Now if you're headed for your first run to floor 100, you will always want to use the Rune of Transfer at the entrance of this event to select the highest floor possible to continue your trek towards floor 100, because you obviously can't get there in a single run. Now, if you've already gotten to floor 100 and acquired your runic key, I normally recommend always entering on floor 1 so that you don't have to spend any Nyzul tokens yourself to enter. Now upon entering each floor, you're going to be given one of 6 objectives. Now you must accomplish the objective and then get back to the Rune of Transfer and either go to the next floor or exit in order for it to count. Let's go ahead and go through the objectives that you're going to see one by one. Now the first objective is to eliminate all enemies on the floor. Now this one obviously means that every enemy on the floor must be defeated. This includes both normal enemies and notorious monsters, but does not include archaic gears if they are present. Now these floors normally take me about 2 to 3 minutes to complete unless it's a large floor. Now the second objective that you can see in a run is to eliminate a specified enemy. Now on this floor, one of the normal enemies is going to check impossible to gauge, and that single enemy must be defeated. Once he is defeated, you can move on to the next floor once you get back to the Rune of Release. Now these are great floors to quickly advance and normally only take a few seconds to a minute to complete. Now the third objective that you can run into is to eliminate specified enemies. Now this is similar to the objective that we just covered, but there will be 2 to 5 enemies that are all of the same name that need to be defeated on that particular floor. Now these enemies you will be looking for on these floors will be one of these: Heraldic Imps, Psych Flares, Porgo's Gent, Ebony's Pudding, Racing Chariot, or Kikurins. Now the enemies will check impossible to gauge as in the previous objective, so that's how you're going to know that you're killing the right ones. Now these floors can go quickly or take a bit of time depending on how many of these enemies there are to kill and how spread out they are on the floor. Now these floors will normally take me 2 to 5 minutes, again, unless it's a very large floor. Now the fourth possible objective that you can see is you need to eliminate the enemy leader. Now in this example, all you need to do is find the specific notorious monsters for the floor and kill them. This will always be the objective on floors 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100, where you will face off against one of the original HNMs. Now the HNM floors are incredibly small and easy, so you should be able to get done with it in about 30 seconds to a minute. Now on other floors, you will need to search around the floor for the notorious monster and then kill them. Once you see the Rune of Release message, you will know that you have killed the right one. Now keep in mind that the NMs you're looking for on the non-HNM floors are from the Chariot, Flan, Imp, Porogo, Soulflare, and Kikurin families. There will be other notorious monsters on the floor that you've seen outside of Nyzul Isle, and those will not be the NMs you're looking for. Now I'll normally finish these floors in a few seconds to 2 minutes, and is another one of the quick and easy floors that you're hoping to see as often as possible. Now the fifth option for an objective is the one that you will see the least, and it's the free floor. As soon as you appear on the floor, the cleared message will appear, and you are allowed to move up to the next floor using the rune of release that's right next to you. This is obviously the objective that you're hoping to see the most, but as previously stated, you're going to see the least if you ever see it all. Now the sixth and final objective is to activate all the lamps, and this one is the worst and broken into 3 different sub-objectives of differing annoyance. Now to find which of these 3 objectives you're going to need to achieve, you need to find one of the lamps that exist on these lamp floors and click on it. Once clicked on, if it says certification code registered, then you are very lucky, and that was the only lamp that needed click on. Quickly run back to the rune of release and head to the next floor. Now if you have other members in your party, they're also going to need to click on this single lamp, so keep that in mind. These floors normally only take about 30 seconds to 2 minutes to complete. Now the second possibility that can occur when clicking on the first lamp is that it will say you must activate all lamps. If this is the case, it means there are 3 to 5 lamps on this floor, and all of them must be activated by someone before the rune of release is activated. Now the objective does say to do this at the same time, but the length of this window of time is actually quite long, which gives you enough time to run around the entire floor and click all of them within this single window. Now these floors normally only take me about 2 to 3 minutes to complete. Now the final possible lamp objective is the one you're hoping to not get, and it's the worst one of all the objectives that you can see. It's to activate lamps in a specific order. Now in this one, there will be 3 to 5 lamps spread throughout the map. You must find all of them and activate them, keeping in mind what order you're activating them in. Once all the lamps have been activated, and only then will they start to glow. They will glow for a few seconds, and then any lamps that were activated in the wrong order will turn off, and any lamps that were activated in the right order will stay on. So you then must run around and check all the lamps that you originally activated to see which were done in the right sequence. You then want to keep those lit ones in the exact same sequence that were in the original order, and then switch around all the ones that have turned off. Now depending on how many lamps there are, how far they are apart, and how long it takes you to figure out the correct sequence, these floors can take anywhere from 3 to 10 minutes. I normally recommend killing any enemies that are around the lamps when you get this last objective, so that you can easily and quickly activate the lamps as you get between them, trying to figure out the right order. Now in addition to these objectives, there is a random objective that can occur from time to time, which is to either avoid discovery by archaic gears, or to not destroy any archaic gears. Now when you see these objectives, it means gears have spawned on the floor that you're on. If you receive the avoid discovery message, I recommend just killing any gears you see from distance with ninjutsu, or pulling them with a ranged attack. Now if the objective says to not destroy them, I recommend just running around the floor trying to avoid them, and then if you happen to aggro one, just not killing it and kiting it around. If you use movement increasing gear, you can normally outrun them and they will de-aggro. Now if you do happen to fail one of the 2 objectives, you will receive a penalty that can reduce the total amount of tokens you get, or the time you have, in addition to other negative status effects. So you definitely want to make sure that you don't fail these objectives. Now I normally recommend exiting when you have less than 5 minutes remaining, but you can of course push that to much closer to 2 minutes, but keep in mind that the closer you do, the larger chance you have of getting stuck on a lamp order floor. And if you don't choose to exit through the rune of release, and instead you run out of time, you will get 0 tokens for that run, will not get any credit for all the floors that you have advanced through, and therefore will have essence wasted that 30 minutes of time, so keep this in mind. Now there's also a Nyzul Isle event that comes around a few times a year that allows you to get all kinds of spawn items for other events and such, which is a good time to get your token farming in to get some extra benefits. Now the last thing I'll mention is that engaging and disengaging enemies can take a lot of time in these runs. That's why I normally choose to use ninjutsu magic for all of my kills, allowing me to kill each enemy in just over a second and move on to the next one. You will have to find out what works most efficiently for you and your job when you take this event on. Now, I strongly recommend movement enhancing gear on whichever job you choose. That's about all I have to go over for this first event in the Mythic Weapon event series. I hope you enjoyed this first delve into this content. Join me for our next episode when we start to take a look at the 50 assaults that need defeated for our Captain's Badge. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.